So this is a windscreen wiper mechanism from a Mercedes SL350 from the late 90s. I think the model number is R129. Now the problems happen with this is that the linkage between the wiper arm and the motor has failed, as you can see here. Have a look. So this ball joint is normally attached to the motor and it sits inside of here via this plastic bush, which as you can see is completely failed. Now a fix was attempted before, which basically uses this clip to kind of clamp the two in place, but that obviously didn't last, and this thing is like now totally disintegrated. I think given the age of the plastic, given this is probably over 20 years old, and also the fact that, to be quite honest, it's not a very well designed part, it's obviously failed. So what we're going to do is try and see if we can replace this bushing by using a 3D printed part. So first step we need to do is to take all of our measurements, and this digital caliper should make this a lot easier. So yeah, we need to measure the ball joint, obviously, try and get the diameter of that and the size, and also work out how much room we've got in here, and other things as well like clearance, so when the arm is actually moving around, obviously we're not going to knock into anything. So yeah, let's get measuring and then onto the computer to see if we can make up a new bushing. Just as a side note, I have already looked to see if I can buy replacements for this, and I couldn't find anything. The only thing I could buy was the entire wiper mechanism, and even second hand here in the UK you're talking hundreds of pounds. So hopefully we can fix this for a lot cheaper. But yeah, let's get cracking on with the design. So here we are inside a Tinkercad, which I figured was probably the easiest program to use in order to knock up the part we needed. So I eventually settled on this design for the bushing, which really is just a cylinder that kind of pushes in, and then there's a cap that goes on top that kind of just holds it in place. I'll probably glue it in. I looked at a couple of other designs. So for example, here's one with a kind of thread, and also a different one that has a kind of tapered edge so you can press it in, but I kind of had problems with all of these. This one, for example, split because the threads was making the walls too thin, and this one was virtually impossible to fit without destroying the part because of the tapered sides. So I've just gone for a very basic cylinder, and hopefully that will be enough to hold it in place. So yeah, now that the design's done, let's go over to Cura and have a look at it ready for printing. So here we are inside a Cura, getting ready to print the parts. What you can see here is that I ended up splitting the bush in half to make the installation a bit easier. The idea being that these two halves go around the bush, that then gets inserted into the arm, and then the cap is then put on top to secure it all. And I'll probably use glue, something like super glue, to hold these parts in place, and hopefully that will be strong enough. I'm also probably going to be printing these using PETG or PETG filament rather than standard PLA, as PETG should perform better, should be stronger and withstand higher temperatures, etc. And in terms of infill, I'm probably going to go all out at 100s to make sure these are as strong as possible. So right, let's slice this now and have another quick look before we start printing. So here are the parts arranged and sliced and ready for printing, and here we can see it's going to take around 1 hour and 13 minutes. So when I usually print stuff, I would tend to use a brim and things like tree supports, just to make sure that I don't have any problems during the print. And given this is a relatively small part, it doesn't use up too much extra filament. So yeah, let's get these parts printed and then fit them on the wiper. So here are the parts printed off. I've cleaned them up a bit, so I don't know if you can see. I've just basically sanded and filed off all the rough bits, and I've also on the surfaces where I'm going to glue together, sanded them just to make sure they're nice and smooth. So when I glue it, gives it the best chance of sticking. And then the plan is to basically glue these halves together like this, and then with the arm inserted here, and then glue the cap on and then press that in, so we end up with something that looks like that. So yeah, first thing to do, if I can get this off, is I'm going to stick in a bit of grease into here, just a tiny little dab, just to help lubricate this, and then glue these two bits together. And then once that's dry, then we can try inserting it in here. Now I'm just going to use regular super glue. I mean, this stuff I just bought from the pound shop seems to do the job and gives a pretty good bond. I looked at a few other alternatives, but this generally seems to be the best, and I've already done a few tests and it does seem pretty good. So let's go ahead and get this glued together. So last step is just to put some super glue into the cap here, and then we're just going to take this and press it down into it and then leave it to dry. So let's get on and do that. So here it is now clamped, and we just need to give the glue a chance to do its thing, and then after a couple of hours we should be able to get the motor installed and give it a test and hopefully put it back in the car. So I managed to get the wiper mechanism back into the car, but unfortunately I don't have any pictures or footage of that. But what I have done is uploaded the design into Thingiverse if you want to download it, and I'll put a link in the description. So yeah, hope you found this useful, and thanks for watching.